Welcome to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, that's me. Hi, and welcome to Positive Talk. Our show features the best positive stories and people from around the globe as we endeavor to answer the universal question of why am I here and what is my purpose? Understanding that can change everything, and knowing your greatness is fundamental to living your best life. So join us right now as together we work to create the adventure of our lifetime. When we talk about the adventures of our lifetime, some of us are in the process of creating wonderful adventures that are multifaceted and mean a whole bunch of different things. And first of all, I want to introduce John Verico, who is with me today. And John, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you very much. It's always great to co-host with you, Kevin.
And don't drown in the background there.
I try to keep my head above water.
Exactly. And would you like to introduce our guest for the hour?
Oh, absolutely. I've actually been excited since I saw this guy on the schedule. This is Dr. John Chanaca. And John has got some really good things going on, and he's an expert in a lot of things, but mostly his focus lately is a survival guide for parents and how that is evolving to some new stuff. But, it's something that, and we didn't have any children, my wife and I, because we knew that we would not be good parents. And so because I think there's so many people that need to understand some good, important tactics and understand what it means to be a parent. And so I'm hoping that John can be an enlightenment for us and talk about all the great things that can be done to improve parenting around the world. And I know we're going to talk about more than that, but that in particular is something that I'm particularly wanted to hear about.
And Dr. John, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you so much, Kevin. John, good to see you again, and appreciate being on.
Well, and we have got a lot to talk about. Parenting in and of itself is a conversation that we can have for, 2-3 hours maybe, because there's so many facets to it and so many ways that you can help your children and to help yourselves live a little bit better and stuff. And so we'll talk a bit about that. But you've also started a publishing company. And
yes,
so you're doing all kinds of stuff. You're a very educated man. And you've been a counselor for a long time, and you've been a family counselor and a marriage counselor and all of those really important aspects of, and a lot of that leads to good parenting if you when you're doing marriage counseling and that sort of thing. So tell us a bit about yourself. How did you get your start, and what motivated you to do all the things that you're doing today?
Yeah, lots of experiences. Jen and I have been married for 55 years. We have 2 sons. They're in their 50s, and we have 3 grandchildren. So the oldest one is 20. And then we have a 17-year-old and we have a 14-year-old. So we've been in the parenting business and in the education business. I've been a teacher, educator for 42 years. And I've been retired now for quite a little bit, but constantly involved with our own children and grandchildren, and also in the community, various community things that involve me with children. We even had a martial arts school for over 20 years. So, thousands of students I've experienced, and it's been a joyous, wonderful, positive experience for us. So lots of things to talk about today.
I have to ask you to start off with, and excuse me, John, but
sure.
You were married. You have been married. You you are married for 55 years.
Same lady, same one. It's the best thing that ever happened to me in my life. Okay.
Can you explain your secret to that? Because so many of us, I made it 24 whole years, okay. And but that was it. Explain your secrets.
The secret. Oh yes, Well, you have to have two people that are about the same stuff. Okay, they have to be
I was going to say
interested
two
in.
people. That's a good start.
Yeah, two. Well, if you
Unless you're
have
in
one,
Utah.
if you have one that's involved, very excited to be involved in the marriage and wants to be in the marriage, but the other one doesn't, you got a problem.
I had that
Okay,
problem.
so that's what I'm saying. So that's why 50% of the people in the United States are being divorced. So two people of the same kind of beliefs structure, love, intensity, and involvement, unselfishness is a big part of it. But when you see in our situation, if I'm watching after Jane, and if she's watching after me, I don't have to worry about myself. She doesn't have to worry about herself. Okay, so it's that kind. But if I'm thinking just about myself all the time, and she's thinking just about herself all the time, you got a problem. You don't have a marriage then. So it's a balance, a caring. I'm probably closer to her now than we have ever been. I have a 96-year-old mother-in-law, Jane's mother, living with us. She's wheelchair bound. She has dementia, Alzheimer's. She lives in the house. You would think that would be here we are in our retirement years, okay? And you think it would make us down. This show is all about positivity, and we've never been closer in our marriage because we love each other. So when I see her sitting in the bedroom at night, we get Mom Gredlin ready to go to bed, and I'm just about ready to leave, and I see my wife down on her knees praying with her mother, and I look at her and I say, "Unbelievable! Thank you, God, for what you gave to me." So I love her more than ever. Okay, and this has grown through this tight situation. Everyone has a difficult situation in life. As you both know, you don't go through life. Life is like going through a briar patch, running through a briar patch and expecting, you're going to get cut. Okay. There's just no way you're not going to get hurt. Okay. That's what life is. Okay. No one goes through life unscathed. You're going to have problems. You're going to have sicknesses, illnesses. You're going to have job problems. You're going to have discussions with your wife and your children where you disagree. And so you're going to have problems. Things come about. That's life. And no one goes through unscathed. So many people on your show, I've listened to quite a few of your podcasts. Everybody, what's interesting about your show is that they all have different stories, but people are encouraged by hearing people get through difficult situations. So I'm not going to tell you that our marriage, 55 years, we never had a problem. We never had a sickness. We never had an illness. We never had a disagreement. That would be lying.
Well,
it doesn't exist.
Right. The important piece of this, and my wife and I are going on 40 years.
Okay.
And I'll say that the big piece of this is, yes, understand that there will be hard times, but there's also those good times.
Oh,
yes. So you're not always going. It's not like, okay, understand that there's going to be hard times, but also understand that there's going to be good times to balance out those hard times.
Exactly. And if you're not having enough of those good times or being thankful for those good times, and even thankful for the bad times that you can get together, go through things together.
That's what makes us stronger.
Whether it's whatever job you're doing. I don't care what job you're doing. If you're working on the roads, or if you're construction, you're an engineer, a lawyer, a doctor, it doesn't matter. You're going to run into problems. And that home becomes that sanctuary, that time to share, that time to get, you should be getting stronger in your home after you go out into the world and they beat you up. Okay. The boss beats you up, the world beats you up, your job beats you up, whatever it might be. You come back home together. Okay. That should be the place where you have a chance to love each other, relax with what's going on, talk about what's going on, share what's going on, and being able to, and you shouldn't be fighting the world and fighting at home. Okay,
Yeah.
that's a bad recipe for life. Okay,
Family is the core of community and the core of society. I mean, if you don't, the basis of how we live our lives is how we, how we survive within our family and the kinds of relationships that we have. And sometimes, I'm not talking about siblings because those kinds of things are different, right? But the people that we choose to be our family with,
absolutely. Now,
our
wait,
spouse.
if you have children now, Kevin, I don't know if you have children or not.
I don't. I have middle-aged men now.
Okay. So John said he didn't have children.
Well, we don't have any biological children, but there's a young lady that we've been mentoring for many years. We refer to her as our daughter. She calls us mom and dad. The only thing we didn't have to pay in a childbirth. I didn't have to change stinky diapers, and we didn't pay for college. But we have I tease her and I say, Carol, we've got somebody to take care of us in our old age. And she says, hey, Dad, you weren't there changing my diapers. So I'm not changing yours, but I'm willing to pay for somebody to do that. I'm like, okay, that'll work.
Okay.
So we do have a daughter in that sense.
Right. Does she live in the home or did she?
She does not. No.
She didn't live in the home?
She does doesn't live with us. I mean, she stayed with us for many, on and off for many years, but she doesn't live in the home with us.
Well, she's still family.
Yep, absolutely.
You still have to call definitely that family. How about you, Kevin? Anything like that?
Well, I've got a 36-year-old and a 33-year-old, and one's in the Air Force in London with his family, and the other one has a couple of kids and a wife, and they're in the Washington area and stuff. And yeah, so and then I've got. When John and I were first talking, and he said, "So are you married?" And I said, "Well, I was, but I buried her in the backyard." And he said, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And he thought I was being serious, and I was joking with him because we divorced after about 24, after exactly 24 years, and but that was because of exactly what you were saying. I would go home. One of the reasons I got a dog was because I could go home and the dog was always happy to see me. I couldn't necessarily say that about the other member of the family
of the union, right? Yeah,
of the union, because I had two boys and they were rambunctious. I traveled quite a little bit in my job for a period of time, and so consequently, she felt kind of like she was the one that was taking care of all of those things while I was trying to make a living and stuff. So, make a long story short, we the kids and I have a good relationship. I don't have, my brother's passed away. And my sister who's older, and she has two children and stuff. So our family, I don't know about your family. I know John, he's Italian, so he's probably got a million people hanging around, but our family is slowly shrinking, if you know what I mean.
Sure. Everyone's getting older, that's for sure. Yeah, I'm Italian and Greek, so there you go, John.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, yeah, big family.
Big family, lots to eat.
Yeah.
Always, yes.
And so, but I applaud you and for understanding and to really, because communication is a big part of what you and your wife do, I would imagine.
Oh, it's paramount. Yes, you have to have it. In fact, when we don't have it, when there's a problem and I stay quiet or I just don't want to talk about something, things grow. It gets worse. Okay. Yeah. It gets worse. And the estrangement, the relationship gets strained, and it's just cold. It just feels, you feel isolated and cold. It's a terrible feeling. Now, we're both retired, and obviously we spend 24/7. The last 12, 13 years we've been retired. I'm in my 70s. In fact, I turned 77 yesterday.
I turned 66 yesterday.
You turned what?
66 yesterday.
It was your birthday yesterday?
Yesterday, November 20th.
Oh, That's wonderful. Yeah, I was born on my mother's birthday. Would you get a load of that? So there you go. So John was
But
born
I
on
like
my
the fact that
birthday.
we're also double digits. You're
Oh yeah,
77, I'm 66, and we both.
how about
Now
that?
that what a
What a
coinkydink, as we used to
coincidence.
say.
Yeah. So so we're spending a lot of time together. I guess that's what I'm saying. And our relationship, uh, our feelings towards each other, and especially since his mother-in-law has been with us for the last 5 years, but the last 3 years it's been complicated because of the wheelchair and the dementia and so on. We have a it's called angelic care. It's hospice care that
Mhm.
comes every day in the morning to help bathe her and stuff like that. But so we have lots of visitors that involve with the health situation. But because of that, the strain. We every once we have to take a break. We have to talk. We have to go out and discuss these kinds of things because there's an intensity living the three of us now together full time, pretty much 24/7. We don't go any place because we're taking care of her. And it wasn't always like that. When we first retired, we were traveling all over the world. We were enjoying our life and so on, and enjoying our grandchildren and our family and so on. And now that we're doing this for the last, as I said, 5 years, intensive for the last three, it's changed. But the relationship between my wife and I has grown better. It's better. You
Well, I
would think,
admire you for doing
Yeah.
that because a lot of people will just say, "Excuse me, it's the president calling." Um,
well, you better get that one, okay?
yeah,
He's
before,
looking for cabinet members.
There's the guy I used to work with. And he
yeah,
doesn't
you
want
lost. You
Kevin on his
lost one
cabinet.
today.
We're positive he doesn't want us on his cabinet. Anyway, um, there was a guy I used to work with, and whenever his wife would call, and we were working, by the way,
Right.
for the military.
Okay.
I was in the Navy, and he was a Navy civilian. But whenever his wife would call, he'd say, "Excuse me, that's the War Department on the phone."
The War Department.
They're going back.
That doesn't sound
It
good.
goes back a little bit. It goes back a little. Well, that's what they used to call the Department of Defense, was the War Department.
Doesn't sound good.
Yes. But
But
congratulations on doing that, and that is I understand how hard that is because you
yeah,
never thought that when you were a little younger that you would end up parenting kids and also taking care of the generation ahead of you as well. So
yeah,
you're one of those tweener people.
but let me say this though, okay, because it's important. I'm not a saint or anything like that. That's not the point of this. I think you should do as much as you can do. Okay, there's other people listening right now. They're saying, "Well, I had to put my mother in a nursing home and so on." That's all right. Okay, you do as much as you can do. All right. Some people are working, they're involved, they have situations, they even have medical conditions themselves, and there's no right way or wrong way like that. Okay, I felt that my wife and my mother-in-law are so connected. And she was a lovely woman too. Okay, she's easy to get along with. She's a lovely person. She's not mean or anything like that. So uh, the situation and the relationship between those two are strong. I know what my wife's desire was. Okay, she would like to do it as long as we can do it physically. So I want to go along with that because it pleases my wife. So every situation's different, Kevin. Okay, so it's not hey John, you're a wonderful person, or that, I'm not a wonderful person. Okay, I'm a person with a lot of experiences, but not a wonderful person.
Well, John, I will say, in my eyes, you're a wonderful person, and just because you have, so you happen to be in a situation where you can do this, that's great. But the
Yeah,
thing is, you have a willingness to do it, and you have the love capacity to do it, and you have stayed with a woman that I hope you like, for 55 years. You've raised adult
love.
children. You know where I'm going with this, right?
Yeah, yes,
You've
yes.
you've raised children, and you've got grandchildren, and I just in talking to you, I see somebody who is just full of love and wanting to and really understands the importance of the family unit. And that, I think, especially in today's age, is admirable. And it's, I'm not going to sit there and go, oh yeah, you're a saint because you're taking care of your mother-in-law. No,
Right.
you are a saint because you have the capacity in your heart to do these things for your wife, for your children, and also you are reaching out and helping. You're anything but retired. You're reaching out and helping other people to find this unity within their life.
Well, no, thank you, John. Yeah, it's funny that situation actually caused the publishing company to be developed. Okay, so you can make a lemonade out of lemons and in life, which is great for your program, Positive Talk Radio. That's what I hear on this radio show all the time. People changing things, and that's the important thing: is you have a choice. You have a choice in this life to decide what to do in certain situations. Okay, it's not all pre-done and so on. You have a choice to decide how you want your life to go. So we had a lot of time during the day. We're home all the time. We started to think about some of these stories that we had with children growing up. Okay, various situations.
John, let's continue with that, about the publishing company in just a second. I just need to take a real quick break. And I just want to mention that, like you, I have a friend who's also been married for 55 years. Unfortunately, it took him four women to get there. But we'll be right back after this message.
They have your eyes. They have your ears. They have your smile. Now all they need is a little more of your time. Make a difference in your child's life, because anyone can be a father. It takes time to be a dad.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. And that's, by the way, that's me, John Verico, sitting over there. And we have a special guest, Dr. John Chanaca. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yay, I did it. John. I can't say it again. And
I'm so proud of you, Kevin.
he's an awesome man. He's done a lot of work. He's been a counselor for a long time. He now has a publishing company, and he's working to publish great works of art from some great authors. And tell us, you were beginning to tell us a story of how that evolved into what you're doing now. Was it because you were home all the time? By the way, my mom and dad, because my dad worked so much during their working life, they also were married for over 50 years.
Wow.
But when he retired, she was like, "Why are you here? This is my house." So he had to take up golf so that he would have something to do during the day, so she could have her house.
Yes. Well, I play golf, so I can appreciate what he was doing. Okay?
There was a guy I worked with, and I worked for the Navy Public Works Center in Washington, D.C., and so most of the employees were blue collar guys who were doing the maintenance on the facilities and things like that. And there was a guy who was working at the Indian Head Naval Station, and his job was working in the power plant. And he had gotten his 50-year service pin for having worked in this place for 50 years. And it was not his first job out of school. He started at the age of 30. So here he is. He's 80 years old, and his job is to shovel coal. Yes, there is still a coal burning plant, and they still shovel the coal by hand in this power plant at 80 years old. And so he got his 50-year service pin, and the commanding officer looked over at him and he goes, "So, Charlie, are you getting ready to retire soon?" And he goes, "I don't want to retire. If I go home, my wife will have stuff for me to do, and I hate yard work." And she said, I wouldn't know what to do if there were clean clothes in the house because he comes home without that coal dust every day.
Well, he was staying busy, that was for sure. And
That was
that's
exactly
important.
it. That's how he stayed fit, for crying out loud. He was great. Anyway,
That's important.
he
That's
wound up
important.
retiring after 61 years of service. He was 91.
Wow.
That's
Wonderful.
it. That's
Wonderful.
pretty cool. So tell us about the development of the publishing company.
Okay, so we're, in a different situation now, different environment. We're staying home all the time. COVID is coming, or it's right in that time. And we started thinking about the stories that the children had gone through and we had gone through. And my one son, my younger son, was here, and he was saying, "You remember that story we had about that cat?" I said, "What cat? Patches? Way back? Oh, yeah. That's it." He said, "I'm going to jot down some ideas and thoughts about that, and I think you could probably write a book on that." And I said, "Well, you mean a children's book?" "Yeah, children's book. Let's start off with children's book." Okay, so we did it. All right. So going through this process, though, just making a children's book and getting the illustrators and learning about Fiverr and KDP and how to publish and format books. And so all of that is study, right? I knew nothing about that. Social media, Amazon ads, on and on it goes, how to market books. We started to learn that stuff. And we were having fun with the illustrators, writing the story was fun, and it was a true story. Writing the scenes and getting people from Pakistan and India and talking to these people back and forth. It got exciting. So the whole idea of publishing and doing books and children's books, and so just opened up a whole new world for both Jane and I. So when Mom Gredlin was sleeping during the day, and so we'd be writing and talking and studying and doing YouTube videos, and on it would go. So we came up with one book, and then another book, and then another book. They're all about our children. Their characters are our children. We started thinking, gee, now we've got stories going that are going to be like a legacy. They can give to their children because their names are in the book, and the stories are real. The animals are real. The pets are real. The situations were funny. Okay. Different stories that we did, okay, on and on and on. And we put for the first 4 into a book, and it won the Global Book Awards for 2024 for children's literature. Humor and Heart is the first 4 books that I just showed you there. So it became kind of a fun thing to do during this time. We'll call it free time. And it became a great rallying point for the whole family to see the books coming and sharing them and looking at them and just having at dinner times and stuff, just talking about these kinds of things. And of course, we have a legacy going with it. That's how it started, Kevin.
Well, and I want to ask you, because I live in a 55 plus mobile home community in just outside of Seattle. Thank goodness we didn't get blown away by the bomb cyclone.
I saw that. Wow.
That was just crazy.
But there are lots and lots of people that are younger than you that are just sitting in their house.
Doing what?
Nothing. They're just watching TV.
That's a shame.
It really is. And so based upon your years of experience and the passion that you have for this new project, I just want you to give our audience some ideas and some hope for those of us that are a little longer in the tooth, who don't feel like we have value anymore, and that nobody listens to us and stuff. How do you keep your passion, keep the things moving? I know it's you and your wife and you love doing it, but is that all of it?
Well, one of the worst ways to die is to be bored. Okay.
Wow.
That's I don't want to do that. I want to wear out. I want to rust out. I don't want to, I just want to be bored to death. Okay. So, yeah, I'm 77. As long as God allows me to continue to, help others, that's one of the best ways to wake up. Okay. Instead of sitting there watching television or all day long, there's nothing wrong with television, but watching it all day long is something wrong with that. Too much, I can't believe this, but too much golf is no good for you. Okay. It'll make, but so
yes, he actually
it's
said
a balance. It's a balance. Okay. I work out in the backyard. We have a beautiful backyard and a lot of flowers. And so we work out there. We're involved in our church and various ministries that we have. I do a video, belong to a video program that actually teaches English by using the Bible. Okay.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it is. I've had over 30 students from all over the world, and usually in groups of 3 or 4 like this, or maybe a 4th person. And they use the Bible, and of course they know all about this coming in and everything else, but they use the Bible to learn English. They want to learn English. So from Argentina, from Venezuela, Taiwan, Korea, you're meeting new people, younger people usually, and you're excited about what they're doing, their life. You get to know their life and what they're involved in and so on. It's a big world. It's a beautiful world. It's a big, beautiful, lots of people with all kinds of problems and questions and things they want to know and so on. So that's a part of a ministry we do also. And all I'm saying is that when you get involved with other people, instead of thinking of yourself all the time, it helps. The day goes fast. You feel better inside. You feel happier inside. And I would say that that's a good secret for marriage and for life. Okay. So yeah, meeting people like you, doing this podcast and so on, just because, how did I do this? Because of the books, the various things we're doing with the books and the parenting material. Okay. So
you chose to share those stories, and people can learn from those stories, and everything that you're doing is really out there for, yes, they're fun things for you to do, but at the same time, you're out there helping other people in society, and you just refuse to sit down and veg. You remind me a little bit of George Burns, just in the concept of his mindset, which was, you can't help getting older, but you don't have to be old.
Right. It's all about your attitude. Okay. It's a way that you approach life. Have you ever heard a quote from Charles Swindoll? Do you know who Charles Swindoll is?
It rings a bell.
You know what? We are going to take a real quick break, Dr.
Okay. Sounds good.
We'll talk right back, and then we'll talk about that. And by the way, George Burns booked the Palladium in London for his 99th birthday. That's how forward thinking he was. Didn't quite make it, but he almost did. We'll be right back.
He made it.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
As you go about your daily life, look closer. As you gather with family and friends who love and support you, look closer. There are youth right in your community who don't have the home, warmth, and healing you have. So look closer. Every year across America, a staggering 4.2 million youth are homeless or trafficked. And for 50 years, Covenant House has worked relentlessly to keep them safe and protected. Tonight, 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed. And tomorrow, they will wake up surrounded by love. They get clean clothes, hot meals, medical care, and a safe place to sleep. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In sites across America to help them fulfill the great promise of their lives. So look closer at Covenant House. To help or get help, go to covenanthouse.org.
Hmm.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. And I just did a major faux pas because
What's that?
George Burns did make it there because he passed away when he was a little over 100 years
100.
old.
Okay, so
Yeah.
good. There you go.
He wrote his
It's-
last book about being 100 years old. I have it.
Really?
Oh yeah, I've got all his books were terrific.
Yeah. So Dr. John, I know that you're helping other artists and authors get the word out about what they're doing as well, aren't you?
Yeah, we're open to aspiring authors. Love to meet with them and produce their books. The books that I have here in front of me and so on that I've been showing you are all created by myself, Jane, my older son, and one of my grandsons. Okay, so it's a family business. In fact,
That's cool.
it's MJ Publishing Company, and it's family is everything is our theme, our brand name. Okay, family is everything. So yeah, definitely high powered on family. We got talking a little bit about attitude, Burns's attitude, and perhaps something that I aspire to try to do. But I was asking you about Charles Swindoll when we
Yes.
kind of left.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't know if you've actually heard about him, or he's an author of over 200 books. He's a Christian author. But listen to what he says about attitude and tell me what you think about it, okay? He says, the longer I live, the more I realize the impact of attitude on life. Attitude to me is more important than facts. It's more important than the past, than education, than money, than circumstances, than failures, than successes, than what other people think or say or do. It's more important than appearances, giftedness, or skill. It will make or break a company, a church, a home. The remarkable thing is we have a choice. There's that word choice again. Choice every day regarding the attitude that we'll embrace for that day. We cannot change our past. We can't change the fact that people will act a certain way to us. We can't change the inevitable. The only thing we can do is play on the one string that we have, and that's our attitude. I'm convinced that life is 10% of what happens to me and 90% of how I react to it. And so it is with you. We are in charge of our attitudes. What do you think of that, John?
Oh, that's it. It's ideal and it's perfect and it absolutely sums up what life is about. You know, I actually push the whole concept of having choices in everything that I do and I teach as well.
Okay.
Focusing on the fact that, you know, you could blame others for the way your life has turned out. You could blame others for your current situation, or you can, you know, you had a choice. And so when you get into a situation, and let's say you become a supervisor for the first time on a job, the way you behave as a leader, right? You have experienced other leaders and other bosses, and you chose to emulate certain behaviors and make those part of how you choose to lead.
Okay.
So you could become a bully boss and I'm in charge and this is the way you're going to do things. Or you could be somebody who's a motivational boss who gives people opportunity to grow and you're not threatened by the way that they perform.
Exactly.
And so whatever happens to us in life, remember that we've got the choice to of how we react to the things that happen to us.
Exactly.
You know?
So,
and I
you know,
love Maya Angelou's quote, who says we can't always, and I don't have the words exactly, but basically it's I can't always choose the things that happen to me, but I can choose not to be lessened by them.
okay, reaction to that situation. That's what's important. Your reaction to it. Kevin, how about you? Think that's important? Attitude?
Attitude is without a doubt the number one thing that we all walk around with.
Sure.
We get to choose, and there's that word again. We get to choose. And you know, when people say, "Oh, this happened to me and that happened to me," no, it is something that you look at as as something that is bad, but if you look at it as an educational tool of everything that goes on in your life happens for a reason. And it's for you to learn, to grow, to develop who you are, both as a human being and as a spiritual being as well.
Exactly. So your belief system, you see, when you said spiritual, when you said uh, learning from what happened, that there's a reason. I think you used the word. There's a reason for it. You're
Yes,
starting to talk about spiritual things. Okay. In other words,
that's
it's
where I
almost
live, baby.
outside of you. Okay. There's something happening. This world is created. This world is big. There's a big story here that we're talking about, and you have a purpose. See, if you don't think you have a purpose in life, you got a problem. Okay, because you don't know where you're going, and you don't know how to get there, and you don't know how you fit into it. Okay, so having a purpose, having a belief system where you have a purpose in life is very, very important. It's extremely important because it drives you. That's what drives you. That's what passion is. It drives you. So if you say, I have no purpose, I'm just living, I'm watching television, I'm doing this, I'm trying to take advantage of people. I'm trying, if you think you live day by day by day and it's an accident and so on, you're going to live your life a certain way. You're going to talk a certain way, you're going to do certain things. And that's the way it is with parenting. That's the way it is with a marriage. That's the way it is as being an employer or an employee. That belief system, that attitude is so, so important. It's and you choose it. You have to own it, okay, because it's yours. You're making it happen. You're creating an atmosphere around you because of it. And people will be rejected from that, or they'll want to stay away from you because of it. It's a creative thing. Actually, it's a creative thing inside of you.
Or they'll be drawn to you because of it.
Really, very important, John.
And
Very
I
important.
I would just add that your attitude is not something that anybody else can give you or can control you. Your attitude is what you bring to the table, and you get to decide whether let me give you an example. If
All
going to the
right.
grocery store and you're at the checkout stand and you're checking out your groceries, you have a choice of whether you can smile at the cashier or you can give them a scowl. And that's totally up to you. But if you give them a smile, you're going to make their day a little bit better and your day a little bit better, because that is the attitude that you bring to life. And if you bring it everywhere, then you will find that your life will blossom in front of you. Do you agree with that, Doctor?
Oh, that's the joy of life. Yeah, that's what's going to make you feel happy and joyful. Okay, want to get up the next morning.
Yep.
If you want to live a life, if you want to live your life like, everyone's against me and it's a rotten world and it's terrible, and why are you looking at me like that? And everything. Yeah, I was sick yesterday. My leg hurts me today. I've got to go to the doctor's tomorrow. On and on. Negative, negative, negative. On and on and on. I'm not saying you're not going to feel bad certain days, or that you don't run into a bad situation or a medical situation or an accident and so on. But if you can get above it, if you can see through it, if you can move forward, oh, great. That's wonderful. That's joyful. That gives you a reason for living.
It's all about that positive attitude. There was my uncle has been an inspiration to me. He's when he first hit his 60s, he and his friends made a pact. They were not allowed to grunt or groan when they would get up or sit down or whatever. They said, "No, I don't care if something hurts. You just don't acknowledge the pain. Your knees bothering you, or your back's bothering you. We will not hear it. You just don't share it. You don't grunt or groan, and you just your attitude is that you're still young and fit." And bless him, he's in his 80s now, and he is he's doing great. So and because of he just refuses to let those daily aches and pains that we get as we get older dominate his life, his attitude, and his perspective.
And
Exactly.
and Doctor, you're a little, not much, mind you, but a little bit older than we are. And you know that each I was talking to somebody and they said the 50s were bad, the 60s are worse. I can't wait for the 70s because it's going to be even worse. You get to pick. And
Yeah.
each stage of life has got its own advantages that you didn't have when you were younger. So if you look at it from a positive attitude standpoint of what's next, the adventure that's coming up, I'm excited about, and that's how you can live your life. And if you do that every day, suddenly wonderful things just kind of fall your way.
Well, they do, and the simple things that you took for granted, they seem so much better, like breathing.
Yeah,
Being able,
that's a good thing.
being able to see, being able to breathe, being able to walk, being able to enjoy a sunny day. I mean it. If you can be joyful about little things that before maybe you took for advantage or just took for granted or whatever. But when you see somebody, for example, who can't breathe, and like we went to the nursing home. She fell down about my mother-in-law about 5 weeks ago. She had broke her hip. She's 96 years old, and she just they had to do a hip replacement. The ball came off. Okay, she fell down in the bathroom while we were both there, and so we called the emergency room. Off they went. The doctor said 96 years old. I don't know, surgery. What do you think? Yeah, do it. So she did. He said, came back. He said, I can't believe it. She went through it wonderfully. Go to rehab. Okay, we went to rehab. She went to a rehab place and so on. And you should see some of the people there. Okay. You talk about tough. All right. People with strokes, people can't breathe, people, difficult medical situations. And some of those people very upbeat, okay, even they're so it's always nice to go visit a hospital or a rehab center or an old folks home, and then come back and say, "Thank you, Lord, for breathing today. Thank you, dear God, for being able to walk. Thank you, dear Lord. I'm so glad I can see the sunshine." There was a woman there in the rehab thing. She was blind, okay? She had a smile on her face. She was nice to talk to. She was wonderful. I'm sure she didn't want to be blind, okay? Right. But her attitude, again, we're talking about attitude.
She wasn't her affliction.
No. And those things are inspiring, okay? Mm-hmm. The people you have on your show, if you think about it, Kevin, they're inspiring because they went through something. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
They went through something. You've heard hundreds of these talks. They go through something, a difficulty, an accident, an illness. They go to jail. They come back out. They change their life, whatever it might be. And they chose to take that attitude with them. And they're doing other things for other people. Those are the happiest people. You don't have people coming out here saying, "Yeah, I took advantage of everybody I can. I'm selfish like crazy. I'm wealthy," And boy, do I try to rip people off everything. And
those episodes, by the way, Dr. John, don't make it through the light of day.
I don't think so. not with the interview process you have here on this show.
No. It's like, if you can't be positive, just go away. Just leave me alone.
Leave everyone alone. Okay.
Exactly. My children, by the way, because of who I am, I'm different than who they are. They have a tendency to say, "Oh, there goes Dad again with that positive crap of his," and it's like,
it's all right. It's all right.
We need to take a quick break, and this commercial is for all of us older dudes.
A lifetime of savings can disappear overnight. Millions of dollars are stolen every day from unsuspecting older adults by family members, caregivers, and trusted professionals. If you suspect financial exploitation, call the Elder Care Locator. at 1-800-677-1116 or go online to the National Adult Protective Services Association to be connected with help in your area.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. John Verico is here, and Dr. John is here as well. And he is a publisher. He is a counselor. He's done all kinds of wonderful things. And he's 77 years young.
Yes, yesterday with John Verico.
And John Verico is much older than you.
That is such a, you know, I tell you something, as fit as John is, I do feel older than he is.
But now there's a mistake right there. See, John, because you don't know me, okay? I've got physical problems. Big, you know, who doesn't, okay, when you're in your 60s, your 70s, and 80 years old, I mean, 77, you have physical problems. So no one goes through, remember what I said in the beginning, you don't go through this life without getting cut, beat up, hurt, injured. You just, no one is like that. No one lives like that. This life is tough.
Okay, let's put our cards on the table. I can tell you that I've had double-digit surgeries, including 2 hip replacements, back surgery, stomach surgery, elbow surgery, shoulder surgery. John, how many surgeries have you had?
I've had 3 on my knee. Okay, dislocated knee twice. Arthroscopic surgery on my leg. I have prostate concerns. I have eye problems. You know, if you've ever heard of those floaters that come in when you're 50 and 60 years old, yep. There's a special name for that. Posterior, the jelly in your eye falls apart, you know, and it gives you all these floaters. Yeah, everybody does. John's got problems. I'm sure his concern.
I know he's got more problems than you can shake a stick at. How many?
He's got a nice beard on him right there, but I don't know about.
he actually uses talcum powder to make it white.
There you go. What does he do to?
I wish I could say that. I wish I could say, yeah, I'm fortunate. You know, that was my inheritance from Dad, was a good head of hair and high cholesterol. But it's funny. When I went to my, I didn't go to my 40 or my 45, but I went to my 25, my 30, and my 35-year high school reunions.
Oh boy! And
there was more hair on my head than there was collectively in the room amongst some of those folks. I had 3 people ask me if I was wearing a rug.
Right.
But you know, I am fortunate about that. I'm thankful for that and all that great stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, I've got issues. We all have issues. I've had diverticulitis. I've had kidney stones, which are loads of fun.
Oh yeah.
Drink more water, sir.
I've torn my meniscus and had that, you know, those kinds of fun things. All right, big deal. Yeah. And I sit there and I say, okay, whatever these things are that happen, you know, we just deal with them. My mother at the age of 70 restarted a career as a dancer and a singer at the age of 70. And she and her husband would sing and dance and perform in senior centers where ultimately she was older than half the residents. I read up until she was 85. And 2 weeks before she passed away, she was still performing. She broke out the tap shoes that she hadn't worn, you know, since her youth.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
But it's that positive attitude. And she had medical issues, all kinds of things. But she just refused to let those things dominate her or define her. And that's really what it comes down to. You know, it's all about the attitude that we put forward. You know, like Kevin says, you know, we have the choice to smile or frown. We have the choice to complain about the problems that we have, or to just acknowledge they exist and survive in spite of them. You know, we can complain because roses have thorns, or we can rejoice in the fact that thorns have roses.
That's a great way to put it. It's a wonderful way to put it.
John, I want you to do me a favor and all of our older listeners. Sure. I, for a long time, had a company called Family Legacies. And what I did, what I wanted to do was to interview older people who had stories to tell about their lives. And then I would take the CD, we did CDs back then, and present them to the family. So they would have a legacy of that individual. As a matter of fact, my father was at his funeral. I played a 10-minute segment of him talking about his life, his marriage, all those things. I
Right.
want you to tell our older Americans, our older people listening to this show, that their stories have value, that because they're older, that shouldn't matter. Make sure that so if you could give them some advice on
Good.
how to take your life in its totality, it becomes a really rich, wonderful book, don't you think?
Well, I think one thing that we do sometimes, I've seen it many times, older people, is that you don't realize how much your children or your grandchildren or people who care for you are actually listening to what you have to say.
Yeah.
And the stories that you are sharing that are part of your life are really helpful to younger people. Okay, they're very helpful, and they like them. They want. They may not even. You may be telling the story, and you're thinking, "Oh, they don't even get it," but they do hear it. Okay, they do hear it. They do get it. They'll repeat it. They'll remember it. I can't believe how many times my grandchildren have come up to me and said, "But Grandpa, you remember you told that story about this and that," and I thought they weren't even listening to it. Okay, so
Yeah.
that is really very important because you're helping them as they grow and they run into things, situations. They're going to draw strength from the stories they hear from you. They're going to draw. That was part of the reason why we put these books together. Okay, they're going to grow.
I
They're
love
going to
those
draw.
books. I love those book ideas, by the way.
Yeah, a legacy, a family
Yes.
stories legacy.
Beautiful.
And they're going to draw strength from it. Your experiences, how you went through. I remember my grandparents. One of the nicest things that ever happened was my grandmother when I was about 18, 19, 20 years old, right in there. She took me to a little town in Pennsylvania that she was raised in, and she took me to the graveyard. We had lunch. I took her out to lunch, and we came back. And on the way, she saw a little graveyard there, and she said, "Come on, stop here for a minute." So I stopped the car. I was driving, came around, and we went into the graveyard. She knew every single person in that graveyard, and she
Wow.
told stories about when it was winter. One time, she came with her parents by sled and horse, and this woman who was in this grave was just a little girl, and she lived next door. And my grandmother had gone to her grandfather's house, and they didn't have much food that night. And this woman brought some food over through the snow. Do you see what I'm trying to say?
That's beautiful stories.
She was telling these stories. That's what I'm getting at.
And
Stories
they
that
would
Kevin,
be, without being shared, those stories are lost. And
they're
that
lost.
is
I wish I would have had a tape recorder or something.
right. Right.
But I remember many of the stories, but at the time, and I'm growing up, they were important to me because I would remember some of the hardships that she went through the Depression, through World War I or World War II, and various situations that they had in their life. They had an outbreak of diphtheria that went through the community. Many people died that were in that graveyard. And she talked about, family and sharing with family and loving on family and being. So, Kevin, to answer your question, older people do need to share at the dinner table. They need to talk. Thanksgiving's coming up, Christmas is a wonderful time to sit around and talk about things that happened in the past and how they got through them. It's really important. It's better than looking at those cell phones, okay, all day long. And
Yeah.
our home, our grandchildren are not allowed to open when they come to visit. I don't want to see those cell phones around the house. Okay, now if there's an emergency, go in the other room and so on. You got to answer. But when we're together sitting at the dinner table, no one's using a cell phone. We're talking about our life, what we did, what school, about what's happening in your
So
life,
important.
who's your friends. That's important, really important.
John,
Dr.
thank you for
John.
being the reminder of the importance of family and sharing and sharing our stories, because that is probably one of the most critical things about our life and our legacy is being able to share those stories so others can learn from it. Kevin, take us
Appreciate
out.
it.
If somebody would like to get a hold of you to submit a manuscript for your consideration, how do they do it?
Okay. Best way to get us is at our website. We have our email address there too. It's www.mjchanaca, that's CHANACA, publishing, publishing.com. Best way to get us would
All
be
right. We'll
through
put that
website.
information in the show notes as well.
Thank you, John.
Yes.
And I want to thank you for being here. And it's been a fun discussion. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's been I didn't think it would go this way, but I enjoy talking to you guys tremendously. God bless both of you.
It's all
And-
just a conversation that hopefully people will listen to and get some great ideas from. And I think that this is going to be a treasure for a lot of people. Thank you so much, John.
Appreciate both of you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Our purpose is to provide everyone with a positive, entertaining, and educational experience. I would love your feedback and comments about the show, including possible topics and great guest suggestions. Please email me at kevin@kmmedia.pro. And remember, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got. That's Kevin